There's two sides to a recording process. There's obviously the creative side, and there's the relationship between the producer or the engineer and the artist, and then there's obviously the talent of the actual artists themselves. But what goes on in this whole creative world would not be able to happen if underneath it all there was this technical excellence. There was this, 24 hours technical team constantly looking at all the equipment, making sure it's clean, testing it constantly, and you have to have that to give the artists, these people, the orchestras, the producers, the engineers, space to do what they want and what they do, and what they need to do to create a beautiful end product.
I think a lot of people get it the wrong way around. They think that the technology is the be-all and end-all. So you've got the latest gadget, the latest bit of kit, but if it's not, if you don't use it properly, or you allow it to get in the way of the creative process, then it becomes a hindrance, not an asset.
The interesting thing about Air Studios is that their core philosophy is that technology shouldn't get in the way of the recording. It's kind of interesting that Pioneer carries a very similar philosophy. We really don't think that technology should even be mentioned. It just happens.
If I hear a recording of a voice that I know, it should sound like that person's voice. And that's a really good test of a neutral system. Our job is not to make music sound better through distorting the thing. We should just be like a lens, if you like. It's the lens's job to give an undistorted view of it. But there's still artistry, of course, in the way that the lens is handled.
The ear is evolved for listening to the human voice. So anything that sounds unnatural with human voice will sound wrong with everything else. So we start there. Start with the human voice, and then we work up into dynamics and delivery of impulses, drums, cymbals, that sort of thing.
We've got to be able to listen in the same or similar manner that they do at home. Whether it's on a big hi-fi or a small record player, we've got to go through that experience too and be sure that what we're playing back can be played and tolerated by their hi-fi. There's no point us giving something that's too loud or too bright and they can't even play it and it's not enjoyable. We've got to make sure it's enjoyable on as many hi-fi systems or music systems, whether it's in a car or whatever, that we can.
A lot of hi-fi is about painting pretty pictures. So you get big washes of sound. And they sound nice, but they're not necessarily accurate. So what we're trying to do with Pioneer is bring an element of the accuracy of studio monitoring to the home so that you can hear exactly where each piece is and where it sits with everything else.
The key to getting the right experience at home is getting the knowledge and trusting the format that's out there. Trust the Blu-ray format, trust THX, and trust the manufacturers in that they are building this gear that will actually be able to communicate within themselves to ensure that you're going to get the proper playback within the home medium.
I wonder how manufacturers can make products if they really don't understand how musicians create music or how cinematographers or producers create movies. I really wonder how they understand how to translate what's being created.
Artists have an awful lot of emotional stuff invested in. It's not just money, it's emotional. They've invested in their material. And for that to be replayed incorrectly, I personally think is criminal.
I think sound mixers, sound engineers appreciate the work that we do at THX because they know that their art is going to be reproduced correctly. It's an unknown world. Once it leaves their hands, they don't know whether it's going to be played back on a little boombox or a $1 million home theater experience. So they really have no idea, but they know that if we're involved, then they will be able to play back their art as intended that they created.
THX is passionate about ensuring that what you experience in the theater can be recreated at home. So they set a very strict set of guidelines for us to follow. And Pioneer's been working with them for more than a decade to understand that philosophy and basically achieve that in the home with our products.
We're at the end of the chain, essentially. The moment it leaves the device that you're listening to, then it goes back into the air and you have pictures. So we're the last human interface, if you like. It starts with somebody talking to a microphone. At the end, it ends up with a speaker speaking to you across the air and you looking at a picture.